Hey, what's going on, guys? Gotten this question a bunch of times, but apologies. Finally getting around to answering it in a video. Who are some potential cut candidates around the league? Guys who you wouldn't necessarily trade for, or guys who aren't technically free agents right now, but could be soon that the New York Jets could bring in to compete to have a role on this football team in 2022. Where is this coming from? ESPN put this out where each of the ESPN team reporters just selected one candidate from their team. Essentially, the question was like, who is the best football player who's potentially on the roster bubble for your team? Rich Cimini for the Jets put Denzel Mims on there, which I think is a fair answer to the question, honestly, however we may feel about Cimini. But number one is Zach Bond, a linebacker of the New Orleans Saints. Now, you may say, well, we just signed Quan Alexander, but I don't think that means the Jets are necessarily done at linebacker because of the financial investment they gave Quan. Quan Alexander and Quincy Williams on either side of CJ Mosley are both on 1-year deals, making a combined $3 million. And CJ, we know, could be a cap casualty next year. So all three of our top linebackers are essentially rentals for this year. So Zach Bond, he's a former third-round pick of the Saints, and he's 25 years old, 6'3", 225. And who does he come in and replace? I think he can come in and replace a guy like Del'Shawn Phillips, who plays special teams. Why? Because Zach Bond played 80% of the Saints special team snaps last year. Really like this kid coming out of Wisconsin. I think he gives us everything Deshaun can give us on special teams, but also you could throw him in there with Sherwood and Hamza as one of these young developmental linebackers, could play the Will or the Sam. Number two is Bobby Evans, offensive lineman, LA Rams. Only reason he's on here, to be honest, is because he's the only name out of all 32 teams who has experience starting at tackle. Teams don't want to give up tackles easily. That's why the Jets are having a hard time finding a swing tackle. He's 25 years old. He's 6'4", 312 pounds. He's got 23 starts under his belt, most of them coming at right tackle. He's played some guard. I think he'd come in and honestly, he'd probably be right around the same level as Chuma Edoga. I think I have to be fair to Chuma Edoga and differentiate between him and McDermott. Like, there is a gap between them. McDermott he's got to be off this team. He cannot play meaningful snaps respectfully with this football team. So Bobby Evans could be a Connor McDermott replacement. Still not the upgrade we're looking for, but it's a name to watch at a position that we need. Number 3 out of 5 is Tony Jefferson, safety, Baltimore Ravens. They have a log jam at safety, maybe the most stacked safety room in the NFL. Jefferson, been around. He's a vet. 5'11", 212 pounds, 29 years old, 66 starts at safety, would make him the most experienced safety on this roster. And Joyner and Whitehead, I think, would still be the starters, but I think he could be the primary backup for either of them. I think he'd immediately be the third best safety on this team. See what happens with Pinnock and Ashton Davis. Now, would you give a roster spot to a 29-year-old on a 1-year rental over a guy, definitely not Pinnock, but over a guy like Ashton Davis, who maybe you still like his upside? I don't know. At what point do you decide to just give the spot to the best football player? Like that has to happen at some point on your roster. Tony Jefferson, he's better than some safeties that are probably going to make this Jets roster. He is. Then we have Tristan Hill, defensive tackle, Cowboys. He just like Evans of the Rams, he's only on here because of the skill set that he has, and that is he can play the run. We don't have a single defensive interior who plays the run better than they play the pass. And I get that. That's our system. We want to bring pressure with 4. I love our defensive line. I have no complaints there. The only thing I would like to add is just a rotational run stuffing defensive tackle who can go in there and play 20-25% of the snaps situationally to be a little bit more stout against the run, and I think he'd fit that bill. 6'3", 308 pounds, played 20% of the snaps in 2020, and then kind of fell out of the rotation last year. He can maybe come in and compete with a guy like Jonathan Marshall for the final defensive interior spot. Then finally, I glanced over this name, but then I came back to it. Giovanni Bernard, running back. And our first 2 running back spots are set, but this to me could be somebody who can come in and compete with Tevin Coleman for that third running back slot. And Bernard really has a very similar skill set to Michael Carter. So if Michael Carter, he did miss some time, if he has to miss a couple of games, I think Bernard could fill in admirably. 30 years old, 29, 205 pounds, and he's really a good third down back. 365 career receptions, and he can block. He would, we don't know what we're getting as a blocker necessarily at a Breece Hall quite yet. We know he's big. We know he's got the mentality to do it. But Giovanni Bernard would be the best blocking running back on this team if we brought him in. That's something we really struggled to do last year, the third down backs. We had lots of drops, and we couldn't block. And Giovanni Bernard can do both of those things pretty well still, almost 30 years old. So those are my 5. Subscribe if you're new, and we'll talk ball soon.